Welcome, everyone, to the Firing the Man podcast. On today's episode, Ken and I are going to be diving into some of the latest news going on in the e-commerce world. Ken, what's going on?
David, not a whole lot, man. I'm here and I'm ready and I'm excited. Another episode of Firing the Man podcast and chatting about e-commerce and some pretty big news, actually.
For sure. This first story we pulled off of Marketplace Pulse, and the title is Amazon native brand Anker goes public. And this caught my eye right away. And like many people, I have an Anker power bank for when I'd go camping to charge cell phones and other electronic equipment. And it wouldn't surprise me if we have a couple other Anker products in our household. Are you familiar with this brand name?
You know what? I first heard of Anker probably 2 years ago, and it was I can't remember who referred them, but basically, hey, these guys are like, top dogs on Amazon. So I've heard of Anker. I don't use a lot of their products, but what I do is I go look at Anker and see what they're doing on their listings and their products, and because they are one of the leaders, right? So.
Absolutely. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with this brand, Anker is a Chinese brand that was founded in 2011 by ex-Google engineer Stephen Yang. They debuted on the Shenzhen Stock Exchange on August 24th. Their target is $1 billion in sales in 2020, which is unbelievable. When we talk about growing an empire, this is a true empire. And when you look at companies that are going public, there's not a ton of companies that, solely focus on Amazon sales that are going public. And so this is super exciting for those selling in the Amazon world and really an inspirational story. So a couple things that really stood out to me in this article was that the company sold 46 million units in 2019, which is unbelievable. Their sales continue to grow. And again, only started in 2011. This company is not that old.
I think that's actually kind of crazy. I want to revisit that. So it's a 9-year-old company, and in 2020 their expected growth, they almost hit $1 billion in 2019, and their sales are up 25% on the year. So they're easily going to surpass $1 billion in 9 years. And what's crucial is that, I guess one piece that's really shocking to me is that they're an Amazon native brand, meaning they started on Amazon and they've grown on Amazon. So yeah, that's pretty startling, actually.
Absolutely. Another thing that stood out to me was only 146,000 followers on Instagram, which is a pretty decent following. However, if you were to compare their valuation to other companies their size, you would expect them to have a much greater social media following. And what I think that speaks to is just doing it right on Amazon. And certainly there are brands that are helped by social media, but they talk about focusing on just delivering really high quality products. There's a focus on customer reviews, and they focused on Amazon, and now they're a public company with a market cap of $8 billion.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're doing Amazon right. Like they know, they have it down to a science, obviously, right? The CEO speaks to how Amazon reviews drive their product development. So like they're just culling information out of Amazon's ecosystem and using it to develop their products. There was one bit in here where I don't want to get into the actual product, but it was kind of funny that they actually launched a product that competes with Amazon. And so it's like, they kind of stepped up their game in that regard, meaning they can compete with Amazon. Another thing that kind of stood out to me was that, they say Anker is a native Amazon brand, meaning they started and developed and grew on Amazon, but now they're in Best Buy, Walmart, Apple stores. And so they've since expanded their empire, which is pretty incredible to go that route, which I think there's a lot of open space right now for a lot of e-commerce sellers that have native Amazon brands and then branch out. You can kind of use that growth to fuel other sales channels.
For sure. The CEO said that 50% of their staff work on research and development, and that to me, obviously they're doing it right, but that to me really stood out, and it made me evaluate how much of my time as a solopreneur am I spending on research and development. And if I'm being honest, I would say it's less than 5%. You get caught up being an owner operator and get caught up in the day-to-day business. And I think that, just carving off one day per week, researching new products, reading negative reviews, and listening to the voice of the customer, I think that's a positive ROI activity and something that as I map out my weeks, that's something I need to spend a little bit more time on. What about you? How much time are you spending on research and development?
You know what? Not a whole lot, but I do. Whenever I do go to launch a new product or do product research, I'm looking at Amazon customer reviews from my competitors, or if it's not in the space, something similar. So that same methodology that Anker uses, I use that same bit, but definitely don't have the resources like Anker to have a huge staff doing R&D. But it is crucial for growth and expansion. One other thing I'd like to mention is, if there's established brands that are out there that are kind of struggling, on Amazon, and I mean, you have large brands some of them aren't even on Amazon. Some of them are, they have one image, they have a crappy listing. You know what? Like, go look at Anker. Go see what they're doing. Like, the Anker is at the top of the mountain right now. They're the top of the heap, right? They're the big dog. So go look at their listings. Go look at their storefronts. Go look at their products.
Absolutely. As we were prepping for this episode, I was pulled up a couple Anker listings, and in terms of like infographics, they're sharp, they're clean, they're professional. Their enhanced brand content is awesome, and I think if you're carving off some tasks for, say, a VA, it's always good to point them in the direction of, hey, this is what we're shooting for, and pointing them to an Anker listing and saying, see how this infographic doesn't have too much text and it lays out all of the benefits. Those are examples that are really helpful when you're trying to communicate with somebody that you're outsourcing a task to. So I'm definitely going to be using Anker as an example in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a really good point. I recently did that for my photographer. I was not going to be able to be there for a photo shoot. I sent him an email like, hey, look at these 3 brands right here. Go look at their Amazon listings. This is the flavor. This is what we're looking to get right here. So that was a really good tip.
So for those of you that are listening to this podcast, obviously your first goal is to fire the man. And this CEO, Stephen Yang, he did fire the man. And now he has a public company worth $8 billion, which is unbelievable. So this just goes to show that you can grow a business that supports your family and your spending, but you can also grow a company, into a very large corporation, as Stephen Yang did. So this is an aspirational story, and we definitely wanted to share it with the Firing the Man Nation. All right, the next article we're going to cover is, again, from Marketplace Pulse, titled "Amazon Seller Fulfilled Prime is in Limbo." Ken, let's give us a recap of this article.
Yeah, for sure. This is, I don't know. I think to me, this is kind of an Amazon squeeze play.
For sure.
After going through this article, we'll dive into a little bit deeper. But at the end of the day, they're putting a squeeze play on sellers to offer, 1 day, 2 day Prime shipping and weekend deliveries, which a lot of 3PLs, if you're in a 3PL right now with all your products, they can't offer that. You can't do seller fulfilled Prime.
So let's back up and explain why this is important. So right now, my inventory is at Amazon warehouses, and it is sold with a Prime badge, which when you look at conversion, people with Amazon Prime, they love that 2-day delivery. And so Amazon fulfills all of the orders in typically 2 days. Now, what happens is Amazon seems to increase their fees every year, and especially in Q4, storage fees, multiply by 4 or 5. And so just to sell on Amazon and have that Prime badge is expensive. And so what a lot of sellers are doing is they are migrating over to a third-party logistics company. So this is going to be another company that is going to be the 1 or 2 day that they're going to do the shipping. And you can still keep that Prime badge if you're able to meet those shipping requirements. And so one article that we had talked about a couple weeks ago was that Amazon was increasing their warehouse capacity by 50%. And so as people migrate over to 3PLs, that's going to put the squeeze on those 3PLs. A lot of them are not going to be able to do the 2-day delivery, and it's going to be hard to keep that Prime badge.
Yeah. One not to cut you off, but one thing to mention is that Amazon statistics they released were these new rules starting February 1st, 2021 on seller fulfilled Prime. They estimate that only 10% of existing seller fulfilled Prime members will be able to meet those standards. 10%. That's a squeeze play.
For sure. And you and I in our own businesses, we've talked about going to a 3PL just because Amazon warehouses right now they're backed up. I've had a shipment that has been sitting in receiving for 4 weeks, and so that's been very frustrating. And so I've been looking for better alternatives and also cheaper alternatives because selling on Prime is expensive. It's loaded with fees, and so this is, yes, it is a squeeze play. And when I think of long run implications here, we've discussed Walmart. They're on the up and up right now. They've paired up with Shopify, and they are growing every quarter.
They just announced, I believe it was yesterday, I'm not sure when this podcast is going to air, but September 2nd, they just announced the long-awaited Walmart Plus. So they're chipping away at Amazon. They're getting some traction.
Absolutely. And so, this is something that I was planning on doing seller fulfilled Prime through a 3PL just because I want to start selling on Walmart, and was hoping that 3PL could also do all of my Amazon fulfillment. And that may not be the case. And so what I think I'm going to do, we'll see how this plays out in Q4, but what I think I am going to do is still move forward with a 3PL, probably not move all of my inventory over there, but for maybe slower moving units, I'm going to change my shipping to where I'm going to not have that Prime badge, which is going to decrease my conversion, but it may be more profitable. And so this will be a big spreadsheet exercise, and we're actually going to record an episode on 3PLs. And so this topic will be coming up again, but this is a big deal right now, especially for larger sellers.
Okay, yeah, and another thing I'd like to note too is the whoever wrote this article, we pulled it off Marketplace Pulse. They did a lot of research here, and they went to Amazon's website and they did searching for seller fulfilled Prime, and they said it no longer exists. They did a little bit of research and basically said they de-indexed it off Google. So Amazon is making it, the seller fulfilled Prime program. Like, if you're not in there now, are you going to be able to get in there? Like, are they just going to do away with that? I mean, it's really a gray area. And like you mentioned, I'm also going to get into Walmart and go to a 3PL, and this really just kind of wrecks all of that, right? Because if you have the bulk of your sales on Amazon, it's the largest channel, and you're looking to diversify, this is, totally a squeeze play by Amazon to try to maybe distract a little bit of that or just add some layers of complexity in there. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out. And we're doing a mini series on 3PLs, and this is going to be at the top of the question list for me. Is will you be able to meet the Amazon standards for the Prime, seller fulfilled Prime, 1-2 day shipping, you work on Saturdays, things like that, so interesting.
All right, the last article we're going to cover today is titled Amazon Added Brand Stores to Search. And I think the first paragraph really summarizes this article well. And it reads, Amazon is testing a change to its search suggestions that adds a link to the related brand store page. Branded searches like Adidas have Adidas Store on Amazon as an option. Crucially, unbranded searches like men's running shoes also have a suggested brand store. Now, I think, when I think of the implications of this, being brand registered is more important than ever. When I was at SellerCon, would have been about a year and a half ago, that was when this was first coming out, and there was a huge push to become brand registered on Amazon. And they have been giving more and more privileges to brand registered stores. And so I think that if you're not brand registered, get the ball rolling on a trademark and get brand registered, because they're giving even more benefits to companies like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really like how Amazon always says, they test new things, see what's working, and their push to storefronts is huge. This they're adding brand stores to search now. That's just kind of I haven't seen it a lot. Looks like they're just testing it on certain storefronts and getting some test data. But I like you mentioned, it is huge having a storefront. They've also added Amazon attribution now, where you can run paid ads from Google, Facebook, wherever, to your storefront and measure the conversion rates. So obviously, Amazon conversion rates are way higher than just your standard e-commerce site. Not that your Amazon storefront is going to replace your e-commerce site, but if you did want to test it and see if ad revenue comes over. But back to the main topic, that they added the brand stores to search. Like, how are you going to get there? How can you get there? I don't know. I haven't seen it. Is it keywords in your storefront? Is it gonna, because the example that they use in the article is ASICs, and the keyword is men's running shoes, and then at the bottom it just says ASICs store on Amazon. So how do you rank for that? Is that something that you can pay for, PPC? Like, I don't know yet. We'll have to see how they roll this out.
For sure. Before we recorded this episode, you told me a next level hack on Etsy that you've been seeing. Etsy is following a similar branded store approach. Can you go into detail on that?
Sure. So I've recently added Etsy as a sales channel on one of my brands after you said it would work out, and it has. Thank you. So I've been really drilling into Etsy, and I found this one little hack. I wouldn't say it's a hack. It's kind of, if it works for you, great. If not, so if you search, like we were talking about before this episode, let's say you have a shop on Etsy and you sell custom whiskey glasses, right? And your shop's name is Duke's Drinks, right? And then so someone comes to Duke's Drinks and then is shop around and you have a bunch of assortment of whiskey glasses. Well, if whiskey glasses is your main niche, change your store name to Whiskey Glasses if it's available. And when shoppers search that in the top, it will, your shop will come up. So instead, and so when someone searches whiskey glasses, your shop name is there. They click on that, they go directly to your store.
That's that is a next level, hack, strategy, whatever you want to call it. I think for people launching new brands, this is something to think about when you're naming that brand. Is you could come up with Jack's Whiskey Glasses, or you could be called like Whiskey Glass Outlet, and by putting that main keyword first, you're going to index right away for that. And so that's something to think about as you're picking a new company name, is if you can include the main keyword of what you're selling.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we always talk about, you're starting over again. You're obviously, you want to drill into a niche, and if you can incorporate those main keywords into your branding, your next level SEO out of the gate.
Absolutely. Thanks everyone for listening to this episode. If you have an article that you would like us to cover on a future episode, send it to ken@firingtheman.com and we will feature it on an upcoming episode. Thanks everyone for tuning in.